Welcome to another Gen X Talks interview. Yeah, I said interview. This is not the podcast. No. If you were looking for the podcast where my wife beats me up for an hour every Friday, this is not it. This is a real interview. We're interviewing one of the coolest cats of all time, a guy who started his own company from scratch just for the purpose of making a difference in the world. And he's doing it. We're broadcasting from KGXT Studios, 200 feet below occupied California. Okay, I'll stop talking and we'll get to the interview. Welcome to KGXT, Gen X Talks podcast, live from Central California.
Making plans with the boys. I'm gonna hit the town. Yeah, I'm gonna make some noise. I'll push past the pain and my wounded pride. I'm gonna live it up. Yeah, stay out all night. But sure, I've had some better times. And I can't
So, Anton, is it? Do I pronounce that Anton or Anton? Is there a better way to say
Anton? That? Anton Kresick.
Anton Kresick. You know, I think the only time I've ever heard the name Anton was in the movie No Country for Old Men, and he was not a nice person. He was a bad guy. But so now there's two Antons, and it's the second one.
There you go.
You know, I don't know if you know a lot about us. My kids started our channel, Gen X Talks, a little over 3 years ago. And it's grown quite a bit. It has a lot to do with just common sense. You know, my generation is older. We still respected people. You know, you offer respect right away, and you know, you give a firm handshake. You look people in the eye. You make a promise. You stick to it. And I got to tell you, when Jacob came to me, Jacob obviously is how you and I got together. He gave me probably a 3-minute speech about your company, and I said, I'm in. I said, let me talk to the guy, because just what he had told me and what I could dig up on you guys online, there's got to be an amazing story behind what you're doing. There really has to be. I mean, I want to start with the company, so people who are listening to this interview, they could understand what you and I are talking, why I'm so excited, what I'm talking about. And then we can go back to how you got there from here. But
sure.
Tell us a little bit about your company and what the focus of your coffee company is, because there's a million companies out there that sell coffee, and yours is very different. Tell us why.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. We are truly a unique company, a one-of-a-kind company, because we're on a mission to fund the pro-life movement, one cup of coffee at a time. So that works by selling and providing the world's best specialty coffee. And then we donate 10% of every sale back to pregnancy care centers and pro-life organizations across the country. It's a huge portion of our profits. And through that simple mission, we're 2.5 years in now. And we've been able to raise over $350,000 and support over 850 pro-life organizations. So it really just started with the concept. Yeah. And then it just took off from there.
Well, you know, I we'll get into any religious aspect, but I'm going to speak from an old guy point of view. If God wasn't on your side in some degree in today's day and age, there is no way you could stand up advertising we are a pro-life company and have it be successful. There's just no way. There's too many people against that. And it's unbelievable that has been your stance, your position, and your advertisement since day one, and you're still here. So tell me how you got here. Tell me how this all came to be. What were you doing leading up right before this happened?
Yeah. And so it's kind of funny how you look back, you see God's hand throughout, you know, the course of your life. So my previous work, I've always been passionate about the pro-life issue. I got to visit a pregnancy center years ago. So just like moved by what they do. And it always like resonated on my heart. But before I started 7 Weeks Coffee, I worked in fundraising, political fundraising for PACs, nonprofits, candidates. And I enjoyed that, but I always cared. I think I always cared just more about the missional aspect of certain causes, especially, the idea of, you know, bringing biblical worldview to our political landscape. And so when I had the idea for 7 Weeks Coffee, it was to kind of merge the two, my passion for business, but also to really advocate for something I care about, which was the pro-life movement. So it started with, how can we raise money for our local center through the sale of our coffee? So when I had the idea, we were like, let's sell This coffee, donate 10% back to our local center so people have a reason to buy. They know exactly where we stand and they know exactly how much we
Right.
give back.
But you
And
didn't have, it's not like you had a coffee company in your back
no,
pocket waiting for something to do. It's not like
yeah.
and not like you had a coffee company like, boy, if I could just find a direction to push this. How'd you come up with coffee? If you decided you wanted to raise money, what started you there?
Yeah, no, happy to touch on that. I've always been passionate about business, and I saw this trend in business to, I don't know, I'd say it's kind of like this new field of people are desperate to buy products from companies that align with their values. Like this is a new market, and I think it's a
Sure.
continuing market. And so I was reading about that, and I saw something about coffee. Is a great way to connect a brand to a mission. And I was like, I love coffee. I've always been super passionate about it myself. And I was like, okay, that's so interesting. It's a great way to tell a story, to share a mission, to advocate for some values.
Right.
And one day I literally Googled pro-life coffee and it did not exist. And I was like dumbfounded. Like, how is there no one doing this? Like taking coffee, coming around side this
Yeah, you
pro-life
think by
mission.
now there'd been some church organization or
Yeah.
something that would have. You would think by now somebody would have picked up
Mhm.
a little bit of that, even if it wasn't big, something. But there was
There
nothing
was really
out there.
nothing. This was
Wow.
September of 2021. So that's when
All
I
right.
had that idea, and it was totally a God move. It was like a light bulb above my head moment. Like, wow, this is an amazing opportunity. It's a great way to advocate for life,
Well,
and I just
the
got
whole
to work.
I agree with you. The whole idea of selling a product based on aligning your values with somebody is great because not only are you right off the bat you're going to associate people that you agree with on whatever topic you're dealing with, but you're setting yourself you're kind of planting your flag and saying, okay, this you could have done that with anything. You could have said, well, I'm going to sell coffee because everyone's a Dodgers fan and all the Dodger fans can buy it. Or you could have picked a political party, but when you pick something like that, you not only are you going to align yourself with people, but you're a lightning rod for the other side too.
Yeah.
You become a lightning rod for people who don't align with your beliefs. So where did you go get your coffee? I am assuming you didn't just brew some up in your backyard. You had to go find it next, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So I did some research. We partner with a coffee roaster, who produces our product with us, and so it's just all about that's kind of the business side of it for sure. Is like forming the right partnerships within coffee. I'll be honest with you, I self-taught a lot of it. So just a lot of research, a lot of learning, a lot of
A
mistakes.
lot of mistakes,
That's the
right?
best. That's the best way to learn is by failure and
Yeah.
picking yourself back up. But yeah, it's been almost 2.5. This is coming up on 3 years now. Amazing learning experience over the last few years. But yeah, we've kind of just charted our own course, have the right partnerships, and now we're able to ship nationwide to consumers all over the country.
I'm wondering why. I mean, just regardless of how your coffee tastes, and I don't know, I've never tried it. I'll be fair about that. But just on the merits of the stance you've taken, I'm surprised that not every church in the country doesn't just buy that coffee literally because of the stance you took. Just that you had the guts to stand there publicly and plant that flag and say, this is what I'm in here for. In fact, if I'm going to go out so far, I'd say the reason every single church in the country isn't buying your coffee is because they don't know. They just don't.
Yeah.
They simply don't know about you, or there's no reason why they wouldn't give that a shot.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And let me just touch on two things. We totally want to continue to work with churches because that's a great way to advocate for life, and have our coffee is a great way to continue bring up the pro-life conversation. And two, when I first got started, I wanted to define success, unapologetically standing for life and providing very good, high quality specialty coffee. Like we wanted to mirror success in mission, success in product. So we have an amazing product. It's top notch coffee. So we like to say you're not just going to buy it because you like the cause. You're going to buy it because you also love the taste.
Right. Well, right. Well, that would be why I would say every church in the country should try it, and then they can continue on its merits. But I can't see anybody not giving you a shot just based on what you're trying to do. All right, so let's back up again. So I read that you're married and your wife is a nurse, or she was a nurse. And
She is. She still
okay,
is. Mm-hmm.
so Tell me how that conversation went when you finally decided to say, look, here's what I want to do. I want to do coffee and I want to do pro-life coffee, and the world is going to be against me, but I need some time and energy and money, and I'm going to put it into this. Well, what did she say to you when you did that? She had to look at you a little bit and shake her head.
Well, yeah, she definitely did. Because when I brought the idea to her, it was 2 weeks after we got married. So it was definitely a interesting time, as you could say, to propose this new business venture. But that's totally what had happened. It's funny looking back. It's totally God. You know, we get married 2 weeks later. I have this idea for a pro-life coffee company. I call my wife. She was at work. I'm like, hey, I gotta talk to you. I have this idea. What do you think? She was a little hesitant at first, but I give her so much credit. She helped me come up with a name, and the name is what's really resonated with thousands of consumers across the country.
I can just picture you. you married. So the day you get married, you're already thinking about this idea. Didn't pop in your head. So some nights you're washing dishes, you're looking across the room. No, not the right time to bring it up. In fact, you did the typical guy thing, the husband thing. You called her on the phone. You didn't get hit with a frying pan in the kitchen one day. You didn't do it in person. God, that's 2 weeks. So you can imagine that conversation going something like, so now that we're married, I think I should let you in on something that I've been thinking about for a while.
I have a business idea.
You can't go anywhere now, so you kind of got to listen.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's funny. I did have the idea right after we got married. So it wasn't before we got married I had the idea, but it was literally 2 weeks after we got married. God put it on my heart to start this coffee company, and she's been supportive, and that's what's really been awesome in this, on a serious note, in the success and growth of our company.
I'm sure she has, but you have to have a special kind of wife to tackle that right after you guys got married and not think you're crazy. Like, okay, what are you doing here? Are there any more surprises I need to know about? That's great.
Right.
That's very good of her to stand. It's a testament to the women behind men who absolutely support us. That's great. But it still makes for a funny story when you tell me that you did it after 2 weeks.
It's a good story.
So I saw one thing and I read this. Tell me if I'm getting this right. I might get this wrong, but 7 weeks coffee refers to, and I want to get this right, that a baby after it's conceived is about the size of a coffee bean at 7 weeks. Tell me how that came about to where you got the name, and if I've got that right, and what goes along with that.
Yeah, that's correct. So it's a dual meaning. At 7 weeks, a baby is the size of a coffee bean, and at the same time, a heartbeat is usually detected under ultrasound. And since we support ultrasound services at pregnancy care centers, that's how we came up with the name 7 Weeks Coffee. It really ties the mission and what the cause is and what we're supporting all together. But it's funny. I got to give credit to my wife here, because when I had the idea for the company, she asked me the question that inspired her. She said, when is a baby the size of a coffee bean? And I don't know why she asked that, but it came across her head. I was like, oh, I don't know. She's like, oh, well, because sometimes, expecting moms will say like my little bean. It's kind of like a phrase. Yeah. So I look it up, and at 7 weeks, a baby is the size of a coffee bean. It's the same time a heartbeat's detected on ultrasound. And we want to support pregnancy care centers and their ultrasound services. So I was like, it's perfect. That's the name, 7 Weeks Coffee. So it really came together all at once.
All right. So once you got everything going, because that's an amazing story, and even how you got the name. I mean, if you look at what you're doing, everything you've said, it's an amazing step after an amazing step after an amazing step, and it just keeps going. When you first started, where did you first approach anybody? Because now you've got this idea. You've talked to the roasters. You're getting stuff going. Things are moving, but now you have to have a place to sell this. So where do you go first? What was your first thought?
Yeah, I love talking about this. I think this is kind of the fun part about business and entrepreneurship. You got to be very gritty, and you have to work incredibly hard and try to use all your resources. So for me, it was, reaching out to our local friends and community, asking people for advice, going to conferences and pro-life groups, and trying to meet and get in front of as many, as consumers as possible. Because, it's hard to, we don't have we didn't have a robust marketing operation like we have now, an advertising operation. It was just me and my wife, and we would try to go to conferences, different events, and just meet with people, connect with people, do things at our local church.
Now, where are you guys
stuff
located?
Like that.
What part of the country are you physically in?
We're outside of Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia, in a town near Leesburg, Virginia. So just outside D.C.
You had a lot of these. In other words, I'm asking you, you weren't in the middle of like South Dakota. You had the ability to drive and go visit a lot of these events. I mean, where you're telling me it's a busy part of the country. You could get you could get out in front of a lot of people by driving different directions on different weekends, couldn't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. We did a lot of conferences and we still do. Like I still travel to a lot of them today and we love to be a part of them. And here in DC, there's even more so pro-life organizations or groups or, networking things of alike that we were just trying to be a part of as much as we can. And that really helped because you can meet a ton of people, share the mission. We sold coffee and that was kind of our first customers.
Well, you're the definition of grassroots, because if that isn't grassroots effort of driving down the road, walking out across the sidewalk and pounding the pavement and knocking on doors, nothing is. That's the definition of it. What a great way to start. What was your first big break with that where you realized, okay, we're going to get some sales? What was your first big moment when you shook someone's hand and you knew things were going to head in a direction you wanted for sales?
Yeah, there's been a handful of really cool moments in our company. We got featured in a handful of news publications, from Focus on the Family to Daily Caller and Life News and LifeSite News. That all happened like early on in our company because people just heard about our mission and wanted to tell the story about it. And it was so cool to see, how many people heard of it through that. And also the support that came in of overwhelming confirmation that like people love this, want this product, are excited to share it. So those are really cool. One of the coolest things though was last year we had an opportunity to share our story on Fox and Friends.
Really?
To tell the message to the national audience. And Franklin Graham, I'm sure you know Billy Graham, his son Franklin Graham tweeted about us right after that. He must have been watching that day. So I think that was one of the coolest ones. I look back and I was like, wow, that was so special. I was just in all that we got to go on TV and tell the story, but something like that was, someone I look up to.
Well, that's someone that's
they were watching.
That was the guy watching and decided to say something on his own. He wasn't part of the conversation. He's just a fan. He's just a casual observer. That's great. That's compliments like that you get that are, where you don't have to go ask for them are the greatest validation you guys could get. That's awesome. Do you ever get any pushback? Do you ever have any? I mean, it's one thing to say you really don't realize how many people are pro-life until you start doing something like you're doing and they come out of the woodwork and you get support and you get strangers and you get people that you never thought would come and they're there and they're supporting you. But do you ever get pushback? Do you ever get anybody leaning the other way against you?
Sometimes, yes. We definitely get those hate messages that come in our email box or comments on our Facebook page or things like that. So it's something I was like super prepared for because I was like, this is, obviously we're taking a clear stance for life. That's obviously people, are vehemently against that, which we're trying to change their hearts and minds. But, so I guess I was expecting it. It's not as much as, maybe you'd think. It's always, a handful of comments here, a handful of comments there, a nasty email there.
Right.
Kind of just delete it and move on and say, hey, if we're standing for something, that means we're going to catch some flack, which means we're in the right spot.
Yeah, well, if you weren't, you're absolutely right about that. I agree with you 100%. If you're getting some pushback, if you're getting some hate mail, then you're on people's radar and you're moving in the right direction. If everybody just blindly agreed with you, I don't think you're making an impact on the people you want to. Yeah. Yes, you do want to contact and impact and be part of the people that are pro-life. But as your message said earlier, you're actually trying to change some minds and win some people over. You're trying to get the conversation out there. So you're going to have to get out there with, I won't call them the enemy, but with the opposing side of that discussion. So, yeah. All right. So where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where would you like to be? Are you looking to try to get on the Daily Wire? You trying to, where are you hoping to go from now on?
Yeah, I think what's been really cool is our mission has become very clear. It went from supporting our one local center to now we partner and support 850 pro-life organizations. So we want to be a resource. We really see ourselves as a financial resource to local pregnancy care centers and pro-life nonprofits. We want to be their support. So our mission is, to continue to work towards funding the pro-life movement through the sale of our coffee. We really want to continue to advocate. If you're pro-life and drink coffee, consider using us, and you're going to make a tangible impact in saving lives across communities in America. So we want to partner with the rest of the pro-life organizations in the country. We want to be a financial resource to them, where we're providing them the tools they need to do their best work, which is save lives. So I think in 10 years from now, we are helping fund, almost every pro-life group in the nation, just through the simple sale of our coffee and letting consumers really make an impact.
To help them, you need money. That's what you
Yeah.
pour the money and the resources in the right direction. For you guys to get more money, you need to keep growing. There needs to be more expansion on that. If
Hmm.
you guys can get into some bigger places and bigger numbers, then you have more money to put in the right direction. So I know you don't want to talk about it. We'd like to be expanding, but the truth of the matter is, in on the business side, is that if the more accounts you get in and the bigger accounts that you drag in that will buy the coffee, it gives you the resources to go do the right thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're in a growth mode. Like we're doing all we can to keep growing, reach more consumers, partner with more organizations, get our coffee into every place possible that, would align with our mission and wants to support our cause. So yeah, you're totally right. It's growth mode. It's go time. It's time to keep making a difference because now more than ever, the pro-life issue is in the news. It's a big deal this year and it's a big deal every year. And with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, we try to donate local. That's kind of what we're about because that's
Right.
where the pro-life issue really takes place. That's where lives are, saved or lost, unfortunately.
Well, and
So
where you live, you are in the
yeah,
heart of political controversy. You're within miles of every heated debate that's ever gone on. It's not like you're tucked away in North Dakota or something. You're right in the middle of it. So you probably
absolutely.
got your finger on the pulse of the way things are going as good as anybody does down there. I like that your company is measured right now. You're measuring your success by growth. Because if you're growing every quarter, that's a good company problem to have, is to measure yourself by how much you've increased your sales and how much broader the spectrum is on that. You don't ever want to be a company that's like, well, are we in the red or are we in the black? No, you're growing. I love hearing that.
Yeah, we're growing and we want to keep going because to be honest, I feel like we just touched the surface here in the first couple of years. And, we want to be more than, just a coffee company. We want to advocate. We want to make a clear stance for life and, hopefully change some hearts and minds for it. I think that's one of the biggest things we have an opportunity for is, to really share the clear pro-life position, which is position of love. It's a position of hope. It's a position that cherishes family. I think these are issues that people do come around once they just learn from a different perspective and, kind of dismantle the lies out there, especially around the life
Sure.
issue.
Well, listen, I'm not as big as Fox News and our channel isn't that huge, but I'll tell you what, we have a very loyal following of people that think the same way you do. Quite a few of them do. I mean, probably 90% of our following has the old school Christian traditional values, and they stand by them, some
Love
quietly,
that.
some loudly. But I will stand with you very proudly. I just met you today. I've never tasted your coffee. And in a minute, I'll hit you up for free samples so that I can. But
We'll send some your
at
way.
the same time, I will, just based on how you planted your flag and how you're moving through time and space right now, I'm with you, man. I will gladly stand behind you wherever you're at a podium. Be happy to be off to the side, making sure that everybody's listening because it's an important topic. And like you said,
Thank
nobody's
you.
doing it. Nobody took that on, and I can't believe that you're the first person I've ever heard about. Nobody's selling jelly beans or basketballs, that are pro-life. There's no such thing out there. I hope it rubs off. I hope what you're doing rubs off into other areas other than coffee, and someone who's making some soft drink or something, or making, a little yellow rubber duckies for bath time. I hope other companies take on the same challenge and what you're doing. That'd be great to see other industries doing it too, right alongside you.
Absolutely. It's time to kind of create this parallel economy where, consumers who share a conservative or faith-based worldview have an option to shop, with
Well,
companies that actually align with
look
their
what they do
values.
now. I mean, there's places that they support Antifa or Black Lives Matter, and they're
Hmm.
very proud to do it. Whether they're making hamburgers or it doesn't matter. They're very proud to go down that road. Why? And there's many of them out. There's many industries and companies that are doing that. Why can't why
Yeah.
can't there be some doing what you're doing? Other industries picking up the same flag and running with it. I think that's a great idea, and I think it's fair. I think it should happen.
Absolutely. It's truly time to make a clear stance where you are as a business because for too long we've given money to companies that, take it and use it for things we totally disagree with. And
I
I'm done with
agree.
that. I'm sick of that. So that's why we're here.
No kidding. No kidding at all. So one last thing, this probably is a full-time job for you now. I don't imagine whatever you were doing before you're still doing now.
No, I've been doing this full time for over a year and a half now. So yeah, this is my job, and I like it to keep it that way and keep growing this.
I'd like to keep you that way. I don't want you going back to whatever you're doing before. All right, listen, thank you for, I know it's a short interview, but thank you for taking time with us. Any way that we can do something to support you guys, we'll steer people your direction. We'll put you up on our website. I'm going to put your guys' link up there. Anybody buys one order from you, I'm going to count myself lucky that we even got to participate in this conversation today. So, Anton, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for hanging out with Gen X Talks, and thanks for giving me a little inspiration. What a great story, my man. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mark. I really enjoyed it too.
Well, there you have it. 7weekscoffee.com. 7 Weeks Coffee, an American company, pro-life, saving children one cup of coffee at a time. Grab some coffee from those guys and see what you think. That's what I'm going to do. Anyway, Anton was a great guest. He's a great American, a great entrepreneur. I'm going to do everything I can to support him, and so should you. One cup of coffee goes a long way, and one turns into two, two turns into five. Then you got a bad habit you can't quit, but it's for a good cause. Thank you guys for tuning in. Not sure where you're listening in from today, around the planet, AM, FM, Sirius XM, or perhaps along the Armed Service Radio Network. Remember two things: wherever you go, there you are. I'll catch you guys on the flip side.